Good morning. We've been waiting for more people to turn up, but I think we'll start now because we could be waiting quite a long time. So, welcome everyone to the second GcMAF Immunology Conference in this year, 2013, and thank you all very much for coming, especially those who have travelled from places as far away as the USA, Brazil, Kazakhstan, India, Sweden and Australia. And it's very good to see familiar faces. We at Immunobiotech are very proud to be sponsoring this conference, which we said would be an annual event. Unless discoveries ran so fast, we had to do another conference earlier. Well, they have run very fast indeed, as you will see from the speakers. So this is the second conference in 2013, and the next venue will probably be Switzerland or Turkey, probably in October 2014. From the results that you have fed back to us, we ask, is GcMAF the most effective branch of immunology, the most powerful treatment for cancer, and the most effective treatment for autism and ME/CFS? And is GcMAF a candidate for the best recent medical scientific discovery? We certainly think it is far more important than the discovery of penicillin and antibiotics. But by the end of this conference, you will have the answers to these questions. So, may I, in just 60 seconds, describe GcMAF in the shortest possible terms as a vital part of the human immune system which doesn't function without it. Viruses and cancer are destroyed by the immune system unless they can neutralize the immune system first. And they do that by preventing production of your body's own GcMAF. That collapses the immune system and the cancer or viruses grow unchecked. You administer external GcMAF. In 3 weeks, the body's immune system is rebuilt to full strength. And both GcMAF's 5 attacks on cancer and the immune system together are then the rifle shots that take down the disease. The disease then, of course, loses its power to prevent production of your own GcMAF, which takes over again, and you don't need ours anymore. GcMAF is present in 5 billion healthy humans, and as you would expect, there are no side effects to GcMAF itself. But about 10% of people have reactions to having their immune system back. So GcMAF is a replacement therapy for those who can no longer make their own. But as we shall see this weekend, GcMAF also acts directly on cancer cells and neurons, bypassing the immune system, and it is also essential for the development and function of the nervous system. We are also very proud to supply GcMAF to universities, researchers, medical doctors and clinics here today, and we thank you very much for your support. We are determined that the GcMAF we supply will remain the best tested and assayed, and we are committed to being as professional, ethical and compassionate as we can be. But we estimate we supply only 5,000 patients, a tiny fraction of the many people who can't make their own. For most of this year, we've had a memorandum of understanding with the University of Sharjah, represented here today by Professor Raed Abu Oder, and a number of Dubai's autistic children have been on GcMAF. We also have a small number of cancer cases here. There are 180 scientists who have published peer-reviewed GcMAF research papers in prestigious scientific journals. 65 research papers have also been refiled on the US National Library of Medicine, many by people in this room, for which again we thank you. At Immunobiotech, we've published 16 GcMAF research papers this year alone. Results include the discovery of GcMAF's 4-directed attacks on cancer, its effects on multiple sclerosis, ALS, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, why it works with ME/CFS and autism, and the development of the new GcMAF molecules. All the above papers are indexed on our gcmaf.eu website, which we aim to maintain as the easiest and most complete GcMAF treatment resource on the web, and we recommend it to you. It's always being updated, so please do read it, even if it's only once a month, to see what's changed. It's very important, if you're treating cancer, that you do 4 things. 1, take large amounts of GcMAF. 2, do not eat sugar or carbohydrates. 3, eat meat, fish and vegetables. And 4, take 10,000 IU of vitamin D. And if you are treating a stage 4 cancer patient, you will not succeed if you do not do those 4 things. And they are on the web under treatment strategies, which is the most important page to read. We thank all those doctors and patients who have given us the feedback they promised and wish to scold those who have not. We can't help if we don't know what's happening. We can advise and improve results if we do. And instead of being confident of eradicating cancer at stage 2, we are now 80% confident of eradicating cancer at stage 4, providing you do those 4 things. Our Swiss treatment centre has opened, where we use advanced ultrasonography to accurately position GcMAF in the body. We can now reduce tumour sizes by an extraordinary amount every week, and Professor Ruggerio will take you through that in some detail. Those of you who are radiologists or doctors may wish to enrol on our 2-day ultrasonography course, which starts at the end of this conference. You'll be taught how to treat cancer, autism and other diseases. Please tell one of us today if you wish to enrol. At this conference, we hope, by discussion and exchange of ideas, to improve the science and further improve the results. So I would now like to introduce our first speaker, which is Dr. Mohammed Abulkhair, who is former head of pharma, medicine and the medical regulatory section of the Health Authority of Dubai. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I would like to welcome you all to United Arab Emirates and to Dubai specifically. You came 7 years earlier than the rest of the world who are going to come to Dubai for Expo 2020. So welcome to our beautiful city and country. And it's a great pleasure to have this session happening in this region to learn more about GcMAF and its importance as an ex-regulator for medicine and pharmaceuticals in the country. We always cautious side than on the positive and encouragement side. But I feel that it is very important for patients who do not really have access to medicine, and they have not been successful with their current therapies and current treatment, to have access to these type of immunotherapeutic therapy that a patient can use, and specifically those who, at least with the past research that has been done, shown to have very minimum side effects and adverse events. Like other countries, there is a special access program where a patient can access this therapy and get, at least in UAE, you can get 3 months of your personal medicine to come to the country as long as you consent to it, and the family decided to bring it on their own responsibility. I think this is a great forum where many scientists and people who have used the product in their centers come to exchange information and exchange case studies. And it's, as David have been saying, they published 16 papers this year. It is very important for other people who are using the products to start also publishing case studies in the literature, and through these publications, the scientific rigorous of the data would be accumulated. I think there is a huge lack of awareness from the medical field and also from the patient on GcMAF. Not really many people know about it, and of course the access to it is limited. So I think having information in various languages other than English is important, so people can get to know more about the product, and a mechanism to have a special access, a formal special access. I know in many cases now the product is shipped discreetly, but I think there should be the courage to actually ask formally various organizations. Some countries are more stringent than other countries, but definitely if there is a very open, transparent access scheme that the patient can get the medicine, that will provide more access to the public and to those patients who need the medicine on a wider spectrum. So I think there will be a lot of room for discussion and interaction between the speakers and the audience. So we are looking forward to very productive 2 days, and we thank you for coming. And if there's anything we can do to make your stay better or any information we can provide, please don't hesitate to let us know. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to point out that if you wish to acquire GcMAF locally, Dr. Mohammed Abulkhair can supply it to you. I'd now like to introduce you to the man who decided this conference would be in Dubai, Professor Ruggerio, MD, who is a medical doctor, a radiologist, a a full professor of molecular biology at the University of Florence, and our newly appointed scientific director. Marco.
Good morning to everyone, and thank you for being here. And I wish to start my presentation by thanking, first of all the people from the Dubai area who invited us to be here, all the guests from this area, and Mr. David Noakes for having made this possible. It is thanks to his vision, his courage, his persistence that this conference and this entire enterprise has been possible. We are a young company, this is true, but our story goes back several years or centuries. And the whole story about immunotherapy dates back to the end of the 19th century when a medical doctor from New York City, Dr. William Coley, was curing advanced cancer. In those days, cancer was always advanced because there were no techniques for early diagnosis, with what now we call immunotherapy. In those days, to talk about a cure for cancer was not an heresy, as it is considered today, at least in some countries in Europe. And it was normal for advanced cancer patients to be cured with an approach that was used by top scientists as Robert Koch or Louis Pasteur. And regression of advanced tumors was something considered almost normal and easily achievable. Then, for a variety of reasons, for about 60 years, all this knowledge went lost. Radiation therapy had begun after 1905 when Ruggerio discovered the X-rays, and chemotherapy came following the antibiotics, and for about 60 years nobody talked about immunotherapy. All the knowledge by William Coley went lost until the beginning of the 60s of the last centuries, when in Germany and in Eastern Europe, scientists began to talk about immunotherapy again, as you can read there, contribution to the immunotherapy of carcinoma in German. So for this scientific community, it would take years before this concept would become familiar. But now, there are about 58,000 papers published. If you just look for immunotherapy and cancer in the PubMed, which is the US National Library of Medicine, you will find an exponential growth in the number of papers that are being published on this subject. So you can see on the right that the number of papers is increasing by year, and we have not reached the top as yet. However, it should be remembered that according to a seminal paper published in the International Journal of Cancer in 2008, it is 5 years ago, immunotherapies, all types of immunotherapies, whether with vaccines or other means, they require the activation of macrophages to be effective. And about 20 years ago, thanks to the work of a scientist of Japanese ancestry working in Philadelphia, USA, Professor Nobuto Yamamoto, it was discovered that macrophages cannot be activated unless there is this protein that gives the title to this conference, which is called GcMAF, or GC protein-derived macrophage activating factor. The first paper on GcMAF that you can find in the PubMed was published in 1994. Nobuto Yamamoto is the first author, and now there are scores of papers on this subject. This is the last paper published in PubMed, published in the prestigious journal Immunology, and is the last one that you can find out of the scores of papers on this subject. Not to mention the fact that GcMAF now has become a main topic of a number of congresses and international conferences on cancer and other diseases. Now, in this conference, you will see scientists and medical doctors presenting results on the effects of GcMAF in the immunotherapy of a variety of diseases. You know, this are the symbolic ribbons for different types of cancer. You may recognize the pink ribbon of breast cancer, but there are ribbons also for autism or for ME/CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, because you will hear results on all these different pathologies. But first of all, what is GcMAF? This may be interesting also for the regulators to define what this molecule is. And I must tell you that with the more knowledge accumulating, it's very difficult to define GcMAF or to put it in one single category. It is a molecule that not only is part of our body, but it is formed every time that you can cut your finger, you have some blood on your wound, and what do? Instinctively, you lick your wound. This is the most evolutionary conserved protective behavior in animals, including humans. What does it happen when you lick your wound? It's simple. In the blood, there is the precursor, the inert precursor of GcMAF, which is the GC protein. And in your saliva, there are the enzymes that will convert the inert precursor, the GC protein, into the active GcMAF. And the GcMAF, of course, will prevent infections, will help the healing of the wound, and promotes the repair. And not only that, of course, it is important in a number of other functions. So how would you define this? Is this a hormone? Is this a neurotransmitter? Is this a molecule essential for immune system and central nervous system development and function? It's difficult. We will try to give some input so that by the end of this conference you may help us to better define this molecule. Now, this is a picture of myself together with Professor Nobuto Yamamoto, over 80, in excellent shape, in Philadelphia when I went and visited him in 2010. And this is the old, still valid, but the old concept of GcMAF. For those of you who are not fond with biochemistry, this is the typical old representation of a protein. All these dots are amino acids, the building block of proteins. So you see there are three domains, three different regions of the protein. In domain number 3, you have a critical amino acid which is called threonine in position 420. This one is glycosylated, as we say, that means the sugars are attached to that. And it was believed that this was the active site of GcMAF, as if the rest of the protein was more or less useless, and only this was the active important part of GcMAF. Now, I'm saying that this is the old concept because thanks to the collaboration between our laboratory, our rats, and the laboratories in the United Kingdom, we have been able now to see and to propose a different molecular model for GcMAF. So this is the model representation, tridimensional representation of the protein, about which I will talk later on. So also the knowledge, of course, it's evolving, and in about 20 years we have discovered several things about the molecular structure of GcMAF, which led us to design new molecules that are much more potent than the so-called old ones. Talking about definitions, we now know very well that GcMAF can be defined as an essential component of a nutritional pathway, which is the vitamin D axis. Well, GC protein is also called, for a reason, vitamin D binding protein, because it does both things. Two different names for the same protein. So we can say that GcMAF not only is an essential part of our body, but it is also an essential part of our nutrition. Therefore, it is not surprising, it is not a case of a coincidence that a paper that we published in a journal named Nutrients, is a journal listed in the US National Library of Medicine. You can find it in PubMed. It is a free access journal, has received a great attention. As you may know, in this week there is the Dubai Film Festival. Like in movies or in records, in music, there are always scores or ranking. So you want to be in the top 10 if you are a musician, or if you want to be in the top 10 also if you are the producer or an actor in a movie. The same happens with science. We have what we call bibliometric indexes. that are instruments to calculate the impact that a given scientific article has on the medical scientific community. The most modern one is called altmetric. And altmetric is a score that measures the quality and the quantity of the attention that a scientific article has received. This article that we published in Nutrients, in the journal named Nutrients, received a score of 17, that, as you may read here, out of 1,500,000 articles ever tracked by Altmetric, ranks this article in the top 5%. So we can say we are in the top 5% thanks to the attention that this article has drawn upon medical and scientific researchers. And when they say 1,500,000 articles ever tracked, this includes articles that report observations and discoveries that led to Nobel Prizes or to major patents. So we're talking about all scientific articles ever tracked. So this is a reason for us to be proud of being part of this world, because this really indicates that there is a growing interest in all the scientific world for this molecule and for these new discoveries. Again, talking about definitions. Mr. David Noakes compared GcMAF, the discovery of GcMAF, to the discovery of penicillin or antibiotics. And this could be a good comparison, but somehow it could be misleading, because penicillin and antibiotics are exogenous drugs that fix some problem, some disease in our body. Also, this is not completely true, because our microbiome produces our own antibiotics, but this is a different story. In any case, GcMAF is not an exogenous drug that fixes some problem, but is a natural component of our body that we know now it is essential, at least, because maybe there are more things to be discovered, for brain and immune system development and function. So it is essential when we are embryos, when we are fetuses, when we are newborns, but also when we are adults. And also it is essential for what now is known in the field of the immunotherapy of cancer, for anti-cancer immune surveillance. You all know that in this very moment, in all of us, even in those of us who are cancer-free, there are cancer cells, but they are kept under control by this mechanism which is called immune surveillance. This immune surveillance cannot work if GcMAF is not present. So most likely there are many more indications for GcMAF immunotherapy than previously thought. However, in many conditions, from cancer to autism to chronic fatigue syndrome to HIV and AIDS, GcMAF is not produced to a sufficient extent because there is an enzyme produced by viruses or by cancer cells or other chronic conditions called alpha-N-acetylgalactosaminidase, or nagalase in short, about which Professor Reid will talk in detail after my talk, that degrades not the GcMAF, but the precursor of GcMAF. This is an important point to remember. Nagalase, elevated serum nagalase, does not degrade GcMAF. So you can give GcMAF from the outside, even in the presence of high levels of nagalase, and it will not be degraded, because nagalase degrades the precursor of GcMAF, which is the GC protein. Now, thanks to the accumulation of knowledge about the physiological molecular assembly of GcMAF, there has been the synthesis of natural, fully physiological GcMAF molecules that can be eaten or administered sublingually. Or we also developed the foods that are naturally rich in GcMAF. And at the coffee break, there will be some for you to taste. Down there next to the coffee, some food naturally rich in GcMAF. And it can be foreseen that sooner or later GcMAF will become part of an integrated nutritional plan, as probably it was intended by nature during evolution. So let's begin to